Good evening. Welcome to the January 14th, 2026 regular school committee meeting. This meeting will be broadcast live and recorded by Foxborough Cable Access. We're going to kick off our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Sorry. We're going to make a motion to. We need a motion to open.
Oh, okay. I make a motion to open the January 14th, 2026 school committee for the town of Foxborough.
Second.
All in favor? Great. That's 500. Thank you very much. I just want to welcome the 8th grade students, Lucy, Sienna, Davida, Ella, and Isarella. They're going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to start off with open public comment. Sorry. I didn't see any. If anyone's here and would like to make a comment, they're certainly welcome to step up. Okay. Seeing no one coming forward, we're going to do the approval of minutes. We have a few sets of minutes in here. First one would be the regular meeting of October 22nd, 2025.
I make a motion to approve the school committee meeting minutes of October 22nd, 2025.
Second.
Any further questions, comments, or discussion? All right, all in favor? And that's 500. Thank you very much. The next one we have here is November 19th, regular meeting, 2025.
I make a motion to approve the Foxborough School Committee meeting minutes of November 19th, 2025.
Second.
Any further questions, comments, or discussion? All right, all in favor? Thank you. That's 500 as well. And then we have a budget subcommittee meeting minutes from December 1st, 2025.
I make a motion to approve the budget subcommittee meeting minutes of December 1st, 2025.
Second.
All right, any further questions, comments, or discussion?
We have to change under Michelle's name where it says policy to budget.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for that edit. So we're going to change policy to budget subcommittee to reflect the meeting. Any further questions, comments, or discussion? All in favor? And that's also 500. Thank you very much. We're going to move right along. We've got our wonderful 8th graders here for Teaching and Learning Highlights. National Grid, Project Lead the Way, Student Solve. Come on up. Just a quick reminder to just speak in the microphone so they can hear you at home, and you can use that if you'd like. Just speak in the microphone.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
See, I told the kids, but I didn't even follow it. All right, these are my 5, I'm Miss Grant. I teach 8th grade app creators, and these are 5 of my app creator students that participated in this online field trip, in-house virtual field trip that we did with National Grid. We're here to highlight the real world problem solving experience that we did. Oops. Something in our little
Back. Yeah.
Do you want to have the students introduce themselves while they...
Yeah, let's do that. So, let's start with Sienna.
I'm Sienna.
I'm Davida.
I'm Ella. I'm Lucy.
I'm Isarella.
So these are 2 of our teams. We had 5 teams of 5 students, and these are 2 of the teams that we had. And
Point it towards the back.
That's right. Am I hitting the right button here?
It's the outside of the circle, left and right.
Thank you.
There you go.
And I teach technology. So the Solve project was all of these things too. We're going to whip through some of these. I want you mainly to see the pictures and have the kids tell you what they did. You don't need to. So they're going to talk about what this blue and yellow forms are. They brought theirs, and they're going to kind of explain this to you because they can explain it better than PowerPoint. So who wants to start off here? Oh, and I'm not talking.
We were assigned the National Grid. The National Grid had the problem of they had new smart meters, and these smart meters told how much electricity people were using and what their bill would be at the end of the month. But the problem was people weren't using their website. They weren't taking advantage of their website. So we were assigned to find a way to make people want to use the website.
So first we were given these blue sheets to plan out some of our ideas. So we got 3 ideas, and we had consistent notifications, Face ID for easy access into the app, promote the app on social media. And those are the 3 ideas we came up with. And then we met with the mentor for him to discuss with us what ideas he thought were the best and give us some feedback on them. And we found the feedback to be really helpful. And
the idea that we chose was consistent notifications. So how it would work would be like throughout the day, it would give you notifications based on like how much energy you used, and you could like put in specific settings that like could give you reminders for like specific electronics or like devices that are using too much energy. And like with these notifications, it can also give you daily tips and reminders on how to save energy and stop using as much.
Pull the microphone over. It'll be easier.
Basically, our rationale was like this consistent notifications would remind people to just briefly log into the app, and it would encourage people to, like set the settings of the app to your preference, so it would make people want to use the app more.
So they met with the mentor with their blue sheets, and the mentor helped them to refine their ideas on the blue sheet to come up with what they presented on the gold sheet. And then all of the teams, we submitted them all, and then they chose the winning team. The idea that National Grid picked was actually our high school students. We have a high school engineer. We didn't know at the time that we were also competing with the high school students, and their engineering class actually won. And I guess they're going to get to go to tour National Grid's facility, which Jim could probably tell you a little bit about. And that was pretty exciting that Foxborough actually won. There were schools from all over the country participating in this, and they all had different mentors. We got National Grid, some people got Liberty Mutual. In our National Grid, I don't know how many schools we competed against, but we competed against schools from all over. So the kids really had fun, did a great job. I have some more pictures here. So this is their team over here, these guys that just you heard from. This is some of the teams that were not here. This is Ella's team here, Ella and Lucy. And then they had a conference room. We had a conference room set up in the classroom where they would go and meet with their mentor from National Grid on Zoom. And here's Team 1 that were not able to be here tonight. And this was Team 2.
I love the name.
Yeah, they got to pick their names, and that was really cool. Team 3. And Team 4 again.
Gummy bears.
So this was when they were meeting. It was really hard for them to hear, so you could see them crowded over the computer. Oh, and this is Team 5. And so that's a little bit the pictures of all the other kids. They got a little reward, they had an opener where they had to draw squiggly lines and then pass it to the next person. Remember that, you guys?
Yeah.
And then what did you have to do with the squiggly lines? Remember that?
We had to turn them into birds.
Yeah, they had to turn it into birds, so it was teamwork where they had to pass it along. And then what did they give you guys at the end for your little reward at the end of the day?
They gave us these little Lego birds that we could make, except they're very tiny and some of the pieces got lost.
They each got a different bird and put them together, and it was funny because I didn't know what these Lego things were until the end of the presentation, and you wouldn't believe how these kids were all excited about these little Lego birds, huh? They were all trying to pick them all about. So did you guys want to add anything else about the process that we did, or what you liked, or what you thought about it? I'm sure they want to hear what you guys...
I always ask what your favorite part was. So could each of you share what your favorite part of the project was? Because it seems like it was really involved.
I think my favorite part of the project was probably like the openers where we would like, like the birds, and we were creating our team names. I just think those parts were like really funny and interesting to see people's ideas.
I like the part where we met with the mentor from National Grid because they gave us advice on which idea to pick. Like, our idea was to give daily notifications or create a priority table or make an app that has incentives for when people look on it, and they helped us narrow it down.
Nice.
My favorite part was working together to come together to find an idea that would work for our team.
Nice.
Like our final idea, the mentor liked 2 of our ideas, so we combined it to give daily notifications on how high our energy bill is, ways to solve it, and how much money you'll save by solving it, and the incentive idea.
My favorite part was like working with my friends to like help solve a problem and like just building a project that like not everybody had the opportunity to do, so it felt like really special to actually do it.
Yeah, my favorite part was working with my friends too, and I really liked the openers with the drawings, and we also got pizza afterwards, so that was fun.
That's always good. It took 5 people to mention the pizza.
Say besides pizza, but yeah, they did a good job.
They got the birds, they got the pizza. All right, does anybody have any questions for this wonderful group? What you all were you all the fluffy flowers or the gummy bears?
We were the gummy bears.
Okay. What team were you on?
I'm pretty sure our team name was Tall People Plus Sienna.
That's great. I didn't see that. That must have been the really small writing.
They wrote really small, yeah.
That's great. That's great. Well, good job on the names. So, anyone have any questions?
I was fortunate enough to visit the high school while they were doing this, and I can say I loved it, and the enthusiasm and the collaboration was amazing, and I'm sure it was just as exciting at the 8th grade. I didn't know you guys were doing that either, so it was funny. I didn't see that, and I am so proud that at Foxborough won, and I loved your ideas. I think they're great ideas. I'm so glad that you guys were able to do this. Did you love doing this? It was kind of an out of the classroom experience.
Yeah, it was very fun.
It was great. I like to see more of these types of hands-on experiences.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming and talking about it.
You guys did a great job.
I think the high school, did you have names you wanted to tell us who participated in yours? And did you know what their idea was?
I do. Can I just...
Yeah, please.
Here, I'll slide up next to you guys. First of all, I want to congratulate the 8th graders on their work in the project. This was a really wonderful opportunity, and we did have 4 students at the high school who ended up winning. for the state, which is incredible. Mitchell Pisecki, Padromos Farsakadis, Elliot Link, and Trevor Palmer. Most of those guys they couldn't be here tonight because of work, and half of them are wrestling at the high school right now against Oliver Ames. But they were thrilled. Their app was, they had a design for tracking energy use by different appliances in the house and configuring the app so that it tracked by appliance to help homeowners know how much energy each appliance was using at different times of the day.
Wow.
So what is great from this opportunity is that in the spring, the high school students and likely many of our middle school students will travel together to work with the engineers for National Grid on what that idea may become for their organization. So we're really excited about that. We're excited that our high school students and our middle school students have the opportunity to work on these things together, even when they're not physically in the same place, and then be able to share in the benefits of that with this opportunity with National Grid.
Yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations to all of you. I think it's great. Yeah. Anything else to add on this?
No, I don't think so.
I really appreciate you all being here tonight. Thank you for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, too. And we wish you well. Have a wonderful time when you actually go on the field trip with the high schoolers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Grant.
Do you have the clicker? I think they're going to need it. Thank you. You can give it to Dr. Burtis. Thank you so much. It's nice to have the students back here. It's great. Okay, we're going to go right to the superintendent update. Dr. Burtis.
All right, I will be brief with the update because you will be hearing a lot from me this evening on the different agenda items. But I wanted to first, speaking of congratulations to our students at the middle school and the high school, I also want to extend congratulations to our own Mr. Aaron Bush. He was recently named the Jazz Education Network and Berklee College of Music Educator of the Year. I have for you there just his bio that really goes through and explains all of his accomplishments. But this particular award's named after the legendary jazz educator John Laporta, and it recognizes an outstanding elementary, middle, or high school, in our case, our high school educator with a focus on jazz education. It is no secret that our jazz ensembles and all of our musicians, student musicians here are extraordinary, and they are led by extraordinary educators as well, and Mr. Bush is one of those. This particular award, it represents when you think about the highest standards in teaching and the results of the classroom and what that brings that distinction to this particular award and what he does for students every day and our amazing students that are in our jazz ensembles and our bands and everywhere else. So it is wonderful. He was presented with this award at the 17th annual conference in New Orleans. The video that they showed during this big award assembly was quite impressive, and it was just so exciting to see all of the different pictures from Foxborough and our students and all of the different events that they've been in and that he's been a part of as far as their success. So really want to congratulate Mr. Bush and our students for that wonderful tribute to him and that wonderful accomplishment for him by being named Jazz Educator of the Year, which is just pretty impressive. So again, congratulations to him. The only other update that I have here is in your packet, you have the BICO, Bi-County Collaborative Quarterly Update. That is something that is presented to you each of the different quarters of the year. It's updates on student enrollment and what's been going on with BICO. BICO, as you are aware, I'm the chair of the board of directors. Superintendents are the board of directors for BICO, and we're in the process of looking for the next executive director for BICO as Jean Sullivan is retiring in June. So that process has started. It's been posted, and myself, along with the vice chair, are leading that search for BICO. So you'll be hearing even more, but that's just the quarterly update for you in your packet. The only other update is a reminder that Term 2 is on the horizon. That's coming to a close at the end of January. We have kindergarten report cards that will be coming out very soon. And then on Monday, we'll have the holiday to recognize Martin Luther King. So again, just a reminder, no school on Monday.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to move right along. Unfortunately, Yasmin and Stevie were not able to be here, so we will not have the student representative report for this evening. We're going to go right on to the climate and culture data results. That's Dr. Burtis and Dr. Burrows.
Okay. So we do have a PowerPoint of all of the slides. You have close to 100 slides in your packet. We are certainly not going to go through all of those.
We promise.
Yes, and we actually limited them. They were about 155 prior to that, which just lets you know the amount of data that comes back to us. So K-12 Insight is who has administered this survey for us over the last 13 years. They've changed ownership, if you will. It's Sogolytics now is why you see a different branding there. But this is the culture and climate survey that we typically administer in the spring, in May and June. It's administered to all of our faculty and educational assistants and staff across the district, as well as to our parents and guardians and our students in 5th grade through 12th grade. As you might recall, that we did not administer this back in May or June of last school year, and the reason for that was because we administered a survey that was similar in some of the content as far as the plan for success, our strategic planning process. And so we opted not to have both of those surveys and have survey fatigue, and instead administer it this fall. And we actually found that we liked the administration of it in the fall better. And there's a number of reasons for that. And part of it, and the big part of it, honestly, is that we're able to take that data and do something with it during the course of this school year instead of it being from last school year. Now, some of the data points that we'll go over, we definitely think that there is an impact on those data points by administering it in the fall. We also are not going to spend as much time going through this survey as we have in the past because we have the plan for success and there are some overlaps with that. So if you'll bear with us as we kind of flip through some slides, but we wanted to hit the highlights across the school because this year 92% of our parents and guardians, 93% of our faculty, and 80% of our staffs, they continue to rate the Foxborough Public Schools excellent or good. So high ratings, we've continued to see those high marks, and that really, those high marks highlight the shared confidence in our school's direction and that in the learning environment it provides with all of our faculty and staff and what they do for students every day. This particular survey, as you can see that what are up there, there are 9 different dimensions where we ask people to share their perspectives. And out of those 9 different dimensions, we've continued to see the largest gains there and the most significant in the area of student support, school leadership, and safety and behavior. Throughout all of the data points within the data, you will have something that is considered statistically significant if we have 5 points or greater of a swing, if you will, from one year to the next. But again, it's perception survey data, and it's based on who voluntarily takes the survey. So that's important to keep in mind. The data is very important to our schools. It's why we take the time and administer it and take a lot of time as far as analyzing and digging into it, much more than what we would obviously do in an evening like this, because it helps us to support the goals that we already have, to look at how we're doing as one piece of data, and then all of the schools receive school level data so they can then compare it to the district trends that we see within this. As far as the participation, we had slightly less in the fall as compared to what we had at the last administration. That was 131 participants less, and that was mostly in students. So when we think about the students in grades 5 through 12 taking the survey. The time frame, again, was this fall. And by having it in the fall, some of the questions that are asked, if, for instance, you are a first-time parent in Foxborough, say of a kindergartner, you're not going to have had as much experience when answering the survey as you would if we administered it at May or June. But the data itself, and looking at even the verbatim comments that we have from the open response, we go through every single comment and every single data point. So parents and guardians, as far as kind of some overall picture trends, if you will, they continue to have high marks for the schools. They're feeling increasingly assured about school safety and how students treat one another. 77% of the students treat teachers and staff with respect. That's up 6 points from the last administration. And we're up 7 points with students treating each other with respect as well. Parents continue to have positive and have expressed interest in more consistent communication are some of the highlights that we see here. And then also, as we look through communication, whether it's a matter of teacher communication with grades, with behavior, some of those different data points, we've looked at that. It's all favorable data, but at the time of year, it's interesting to see how some of those things have looked a little bit different from the past. So this particular slide here, it is just showing in a snapshot from a parent-guardian perspective the highest and lowest indicators for the overall survey. So we see in this that the highest ranking indicators, there's one there that is new to this as compared to last year. I'm kept informed about activities like student performances, parent workshops, and other events. The other ones that you see there are all new into this higher category here. So it is exciting to see the high level of assurance from parents in these particular areas, that their students are aware of the safety procedures in school. We saw that across the board when we look at the other areas with faculty and staff as well as students. On that particular note, the time of year is something that we attribute that to, being that in the fall we have all of our evacuation drills. But we did have a concerted effort and had some changes in communication this fall, from having our standard response protocol being highlighted in student assemblies, having a video that was on the website, and so really a lot more communication. So we see that playing out here in the data across parents and guardians, faculty and staff, and with students as well. So each of these slides that you have within your packet have the 3-year comparison, and again, really high marks across the area and the perception of parents. School leadership is one of the highlights that I wanted to stop on as well. When it asked parents and guardians about their interactions with school leadership, whether they were available, they were listening to concerns, you see high marks here. So we continue to have high praise for our principals, our assistant principals. They do spend a lot of time supporting our families as well as our students and faculty and staff. And you can see that reflected in those results. When we read through the open-ended comments, and that is well reflected within that too. So just really wanted to acknowledge the hard work of our school principals and assistant principals and all the work that they do to support our students and our families. There's a lot of communication back and forth with them. As far as the family engagement piece here, when we look at the difference, again, it's if there's a swing of a 5-point difference there, we look at that particular information. So you see some declines there as far as being kept informed of student grades. When you look at the verbatim reports, what some of the comments that play into that is the digital platform nature of that. And so if they're unfamiliar with the digital platform, being able to remember to go in and look at that. So that's an example of if we see a decline of more than 5 points, well, let's look and see if there's any other anecdotal information that we can get insight from there. The other one that I wanted to pause on here is really a celebration here of the hard work of so many people, and it's from faculty, staff, administration, parents, and our kids. And that is the transition from elementary to middle school, as well as the transition from middle school to high school. that is showing the reflection of a lot of work by not just when we think about and what we've talked about here, Link Crew, the orientation at the high school, and Web, where everybody belongs, at the middle school. So if you take the example of our fourth graders transitioning to the middle school, we've had verbatim reports, again, those anecdotal comments, so many positive comments of our fourth graders transitioning to the fifth grade. And we see that played out in this data as well. There's a lot of time and effort that goes into this, from program of studies nights that take place, from our students having joint field day together, from fourth grade coming together, going over to the middle school, having band demos that come to them to talk about their opportunities for music when they move to the middle school. Greetings, principal greetings as well. It's the orientation for Web as an example. It's not just the orientation in the summer. That goes through the entire school year, and our Web leaders really deserve, and the teachers that lead them, a lot of praise there too. There's a lot of time and effort in those monthly meetings and making sure our fifth graders have that support and feel like they belong, like through those opportunities and the learning and leading and what those Web leaders are doing all year long. In addition to those field trips over or those tours of the building. So to see that's up 7 points from the past, that was nice to see that the efforts are being recognized there, with 94% of them agreeing or strongly agreeing that the support for those major transitions are there. From middle school to high school, we had a substantial increase there as well, and that is due to a number of things, such like the middle school, whether it's Link, the orientation, it is the tours that go through, having them come up for their visit to the high school, and then continued with working with guidance in those early days, and partnering with our wellness health teachers too, and getting those onboarding through Naviance and so many other different opportunities they have to transition our 8th graders to 9th graders. So just really want to shout out that the parents are seeing that, and they're commenting on it, not just in the data here, but within the anecdotal comments as well. When we move on to school faculty, we continue to see a lot of really positive high marks here. They are seeing meaningful improvements, and even student conduct is an example, to where we've talked about whether it's following rules, whether it's the follow-through with that, whether it's students that are reporting with peer relationships and how they're treating each other, and the respect between peers, the respect with teachers, seeing increases there, and seeing that any of those kinds of negative behaviors have decreased. So that's important to see from our faculty and staff. But in our student data, you see those same positive improvements that are there. The faculty, as far as a couple of areas to stop on here, when we look at the highest ranking and the lowest ranking indicators, there are all new areas here. The safety piece that we saw from parents and guardians, as well as with students, knowing the drills and the protocols. Again, a lot of that is what we've had in place, but communicating it much differently and in a different way. We see the positive outcome of that effort, as well as looking at across the board, whether it comes to curriculum instruction and the support from the schools in supporting student learning. And that's most important, because that's what we're here to do, is to support our students, and then to be able to have our teachers collaborate and work together. We see increases in collaboration. A lot of effort's been put forth by administration to try to have more time for collaboration. Can never have as much as you'd like, but we see increases there, and that was recognized as well. As far as the areas that didn't have as high of agreement that we look at, there's a couple there that we see with asterisks. That just means that they were the same as in years past. And some of that has to do with the enforcing student conduct, but then when you look through the verbatim reports of those, you'll see that it's individualized. And so Just as we look at the big picture, when you dig in, you're always going to have comments one way or the other. But that is an area that has come up in the past when it comes to student conduct. We hear that from parents and guardians as well. And it's a smaller area, but we always like to look into see, because that falls under the area of safety and behavior. And then during the school day, vaping's not a problem. That has been something you've seen at this table that continues every year. It's something that, our health classes really work on educating our students in those areas. And we hear it from parents as well, with that being, a challenge for sure. So the professional development piece, I'm going to pause for a moment and let Dr. Burrows, because I know she had a couple of comments that she wanted to add when it comes to professional development.
Sure. I would just say that the professional development feedback there, it's really nuanced. When you drill down, and we do this often when we look at the data, we look at it by level. And when you take a look at that professional development and you parse out between our teachers and our education assistants, there is a significant difference between the two. And then also when you parse out between elementary, middle school, and high school, there is a significant difference between the two. A lot of that has to do with, I should say in some cases, that has to do with the method of delivery for professional development. In some cases, we might only be able to get a PD provider in a virtual online format, and it's not as popular to have professional development in that virtual online format. So not as favorable as a professional development opportunity. So we do try to avoid booking PD providers in that format, but of course, and we get that feedback as well as we survey staff throughout the year as well. So we're aware of it.
And then the other data point there, when we look at supports available to help me incorporate my computers and other technology into instruction, there's a couple of factors there when we've teased that particular decline. As you are aware, we had a digital learning coach at the elementary level, and that was going to be repurposed into a science, technology, engineering, math teacher. And we were not able to do that with the budget for this year. So elementary felt that loss from not having a digital learning coach. And then the other piece too, when we look and divide out between our teachers versus our educational assistants, then we see a difference there too when it comes to technology and instruction. And that honestly, we would see that in many other places when it came to communication. Like for instance, I communicate about child's progress. If we saw decline, we would dig into that a little bit further, and there's a difference between teachers answering that question and educational assistants answering that question, because that's not their role or responsibility in those cases. So that's led us to look at how do we change the survey in a way that we can better articulate what's being said, because it's getting skewed between teachers and educational assistants in a number of different areas, and that being two of them in those particular data points. This slide here, when you look at the marked difference for our school resource officers being important and necessary, that is a stark difference from the past. Not surprising to see that, but at the same time, we've had our school resource officers all along, and they do an amazing job supporting our students in the schools and being present and available every single day. And one of the best things that I hear from them is when they're out, when we talk about community policing, and students see them and get all excited and are introducing them to their parents or whoever they might be with. So I'm glad to see that they're recognized there as far as their importance and necessary presence in our schools, because they do support us every single day across every one of our schools.
And we also see that jump across the parent group, the faculty group, and the student group. So it's very consistent.
I'm moving through any too quickly and did not stop, please tell me. Before we go on to the student section here, I just would like to pause and to see if there are any particular slides from parents or guardians or our faculty staff that you had questions on or any comments that you wanted to make, because there's a lot there, but if you had any questions or comments, we wanted to pause.
I mean, I think a lot of the ones, especially where you saw the increase, were probably related to when it was being asked, because some of the, for instance, the understanding the grade thing, I could see that sliding down because people haven't adjusted to the software yet. And conversely, the safety stuff, because they had just taken their safety thing, or when they did the transition, they had just done the transition, so they sort of, everything was still fresh, whereas if you're asking in the spring, there's a good possibility that someone doesn't remember some of the steps that were taken for transition when it was almost a year ago, something along those lines. So all those different layers are probably impacted by the time when the survey was administered this time.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And some of the ones, too, when we saw, I mean, high marks for our guidance counselors and the support that they provide to students, but when you think about the questions that were more nuanced towards college or career planning, this is not the time of year. They're doing some of those things with Naviance, but they're not at the same place as they are in May and June. So you see the opposite.
Saw that while I was going through
Yes,
it, too,
there
yeah.
as well.
The other piece that I would add, when you step back and take a look at the parent perception versus the faculty perception, speaking to those digital platforms, I know that our staff are communicating so much about our grades and what our students are learning. And the reality is that as our curriculum becomes more digitized, it just becomes more complicated for our families to access what that learning looks like, where my students' grades are. So we just have to be a little bit more mindful about that and make sure that part of our communication is showing families how to access that. And I know that's something that we are incorporating into our open houses. We've added some additional information, how to access PowerSchool, how to navigate the PowerSchool app on our website. So it is something that is on our radar, but that's what I see as a bit of a common theme when you look at the parents versus the faculty in those types of questions.
Move on a little bit to kind of student highlights. So our students here, we can see that we have nice gains here as well. When we tease out some of their comments, it was nice to see them where they commented to many of them to the shared appreciation for kindness and inclusivity, and that's really important to us, because when we think about being good humans, we want people to be kind and to be inclusive, and friendships, and to see that noted within their comments where they specifically wrote those comments out as well, that was something that's really encouraging for us. And many of them also expressed, having really wonderful teachers, which we love to see that, and the kindness from their teachers and the support, and that they love school, and to see that written out in comments as well. That general atmosphere of friendliness that was there when it comes to their academics and content. They talked about that it's, some classes are more engaging than the others, some are harder than others, some are more confusing depending on whether you had opposite with math and science in particular with some of the comments that came out. And they talked about the challenge of some of the courses. As far as challenge as well, we saw that across the three areas, from parents as well as our faculty, staff, and students, that meeting rigor and the challenge, even some of them going back and still talking about being post-COVID and some of the challenges that come along with being 5 years later, but whether it's academic rigor, whether it's perseverance and resiliency, we saw that threaded throughout as far as looking for the rigor on the challenging side, but then also on the other side and supporting all students where they are. The highest and lowest indicators here from a student's perception to be able to do well in the next grade level, that they've been prepared, to show that they feel safe at school, that they feel that their in-class tests and quizzes at school are fair. Those are some new areas. When we look at the area of they're not as strong of agreement, when we look at the lessons relating to outside of school and how they relate to life, I think we saw a good example tonight when we think about the National Grid example and having that real life connection. We strive to do that as much as we can. Some subject matters are easier than others to be able to do that. But at the same time, you'll notice that each of those have the asterisk. Those are those same recurring themes that we've had in the past as far as the lowest levels of agreement. But it's important to note that we have really high marks overall. This is just looking at the level of agreement and then looking at both ends of the spectrum there. We had a lot of increases when it came to improvements noting perception of behaviors that are addressed, that threatening behavior is rare, that staff respond if there's any reports of bullying, and that the feelings of personal safety are continuing to increase, as well as those that ride the bus reporting that it's improved and that 81% said that their bus runs on time. So that's, congratulations to our transportation department who works really, really hard to do that, particularly when you have challenges like we've had recently with storms and trees down and rerouting. They work really hard to be responsive to parents and then to keep the buses running on time as well. So kind of starting to wrap this up, when we look about academic preparation, student support, and safety and behavior, to be able to have those higher marks and to stay consistent or to continue to improve. That's where we strive to be. So we want to celebrate the strengths that we have, but at the same time, we want to identify our areas of opportunity for growth. And that's what principals do at the school level. They take the data from their school level. All of these slides, they have the same vast amount of information, and to go back and to work with staff and use it with their school councils as well, and it helps inform the work and the goals that they do. It also is a piece of data that we'll use as part of our plan for success that you've heard in the past, and it's embedded with that plan for success too. So it's a lot of information. We did like having it in the fall as far as administering it, to be able to use the data in more real time for us instead of getting it when the summer begins. And then being able to check back on the goals that we've had and how we're seeing certain goals reflected within this data. And then at the same time, for parents and faculty and staff to know that every single comment that is written is read. There are, as far as communication, you saw within some of the slides as well, that there were a decline in district communication. And that is one that we're trying to tease out when we look through verbatim, definitely being within the time period of negotiations. That was something that was commented on as far as the time of year. But even with that, the level of agreement and such high marks for people wanting to be in Foxboro, feeling supported in Foxboro, having the family support, the students that we have, and all of the praise for our faculty and staff was clearly there. The collaboration and the respect from our colleagues to colleagues was there. So we appreciate people who took the time to answer the survey. It is a lengthy survey, but it does provide us with really good actionable data, even though it is perception data.
And I would add, too, that each year we look over each one of the surveys and take a look at each question and see if there's anything that we can eliminate or anything that we need to clarify because we don't feel like we're getting good data, or maybe we feel like that question might be confusing, and that's why we're getting a lot of I don't knows for answers out of there. The other piece, too, is there are a number of questions where we were looking at trends this year, and we're really not sure. We're questioning, is it the timing of the year that's causing this to trend in one direction or the other? I'm really looking forward to the next survey administration to see, is it continuing to trend in this direction, or was it truly, was it truly the timing of the year, or is this something that we need to pay more attention to? So looking forward to that second administration at this time of year.
Can we comment?
Any other
I just really wanted to say well done to both of you. The amount of data is overwhelming. We do a lot of talking about data here, but the fact that you get so granular and read every comment and read every word, just my takeaway personally is don't delete. Don't delete that email. Fill out the survey. Give us your comments. Give us your feedback, because it's important, and you clearly listen and take it to heart and create plans and steps and actions to mitigate the data where it lies. So thank you very much. Anyone else? Questions, comments?
Sure. So my question is about the lowest indicators. Are they going to be referenced in the plan for success? Because I know 70% of them are reoccurring from last year. So is there going to be some sort of mention or some sort of plan to kind of try to change some of that?
So what you'll see in the plan for success is hearkening back to this being one of the data sources. As far as specific goals, it's going to be more specific to a school in some cases. In some cases, it's going to be district-wide. So as an example, one of them might be on communication. One of the focus areas within the plan for success talks about the school website as an example, looking at redesigning that in the future, and what are other communication platforms to be able to communicate maybe in a different way. So there it is within there, and it's different places within the plan, but then it also goes into school improvement plans in different ways too. But again, it's just one piece of data out of the many that we collect, and it is perception data. But we do use it for that reason as well, for that purpose, I should say.
About the phrasing of the questions and whatnot, like a perfect example was that question about, have you had to speak to an administrator this year? And I'm thinking, as a parent, I'm thinking this year, well, if I'm filling out the survey in October, it's a lot less likely I've had to speak to the administrator than if I'm filling it out in May. So it might be just sort of clarifying for the last 12 months or anything else like that. The other part, because I do a lot of stuff like this in the professional side of things too, where it is about perception, but also there's the thing with perception, especially when you're looking at a gap between how the faculty perceives something versus how the students are perceiving something, especially when it comes to how the students feel about things. Maybe the faculty feels like they are going above and beyond with the support, and then the students aren't feeling the support for something. And that doesn't mean that something's wrong, anything along those lines, but maybe it's some sort of way to reshape how it feels to sort of get that up for the students for it. Because even if the students are receiving all sorts of support, if their perception isn't that they are, then maybe there's just something that they're just not aware of, or something for an awareness level, things along those lines. Those sort of gaps, because there were a lot of overlaps within the questions for it, and those always sort of stuck out to me while I was looking through it, where it's okay, well, the faculty or the parents think one thing, the students think another, or the parents think something where there's disagreement on there. So it'd be interesting seeing where those.
And that's part of the reason for the repetition across, to see, where is there truly disagreement. And one of the things that we also do is, there is a question where we're confused. We're not really sure, what do the students mean by this? We meet with middle school and high school students, and we ask, what do you think this means? If I were to ask you, what kind of academic support are you getting from your teacher? What do you think that looks like? And if you wanted something different, how do you think you would go about doing that? And we just ask the kids, what do you need? And it's really, they know exactly what they need.
Yeah, it's a great example.
Sure.
Academic support to one student looks different than academic support to another, so it's...
Sure. So that data point is an opportunity to have a conversation with kids. And it might not necessarily mean that we need to overhaul an entire system or structure. It may just be that we need to communicate something differently.
Yeah.
Or we need to have more one-on-one conversations with kids about what they have access to. Because oftentimes kids are not seeking out when they do need help.
And always, when parents have questions, go to the classroom teacher. Reach out, have that conversation with them, because sometimes they just might not know what's on the minds. So always reach out to the classroom teacher. But when we think about the vast amount of data here, to have that high quality overall appreciation, and then as far as the confidence and remaining the overall quality of education here, I think it really speaks to the hard work of what people do every day for our students. It's a wonderful place to be, and I think that these results highlight that confidence in our faculty and staff and administration with our students.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Nate gave you a perfect lead-in for the plan for success, the 2025 to 2030 that you're both going to talk to us about right now.
Yes. So our plan for success, we are so excited to be here to present this evening for you. And it is work that is well underway. So we're going to be flipping over to, you have the PDF version of the plan, and we have a flip book, a digital flip book of this plan that we're going to have up on the screen. This will end up being on the website once it is approved by you. So this particular plan, as I said, it's well underway. It is the superintendent goals, district goals, school committee goals from the beginning of the year. You've seen evidence highlighted and illustrated of this work so far through some of our teaching and learning highlights. When you think about trying to make real world connections as an example, just from the teaching and learning highlight this evening. The work of this plan is a 5-year plan, and it will take us till 2030. Seems crazy to say. And then you'll hear, and it'll seem like a few short months, we'll be coming back and talking about the work that's well underway. It started last winter. We continue to work through actually the summer as well to be able to get to where we are with this published document. Some of it was waiting on Teaching and Learning Alliance, who we partnered with to be able to have the publication of this, to be able to present it. The table of contents that you see here, it will outline a number of things that we'll go over here briefly, because in thinking about the work that's here, the school improvement plans that you'll hear from principals in May and June will come back to this work as well. So what is in this plan? It is all of the work that's been done by many, and I'd like to recognize those people who helped put this plan together. The work, the data that we used was focus groups that took place last winter and spring. It was surveys that went out. It was working through school councils. It was working with different stakeholder groups, such as the Superintendent Student Advisory Council, parent leaders, other groups and organizations that we were able to leverage in addition to all of those focus groups and surveys. Getting information from them to be able to help us put together a plan that's going to really be our roadmap for the next 5 years. It is our vision, which is students are empowered to learn, inspired to explore, and motivated to achieve. And in order to get to that vision, this Planning for Success Planning Committee that you see here are the ones that really helped bring this plan to the point where it is this evening. So all of our central office administrators were part of that planning committee. Our 5 principals were part of that committee. And then we had representation from all levels. We had teacher representation. We had parents and guardians, and we also had educational assistants. So I'm going to just make a pause here and recognize we have Joe Sanders, who's in the here this evening. He represented educational assistants, so we thank him for all of his time. At the same time, Erin McCarthy, one of our kindergarten teachers, she was on the Planning for Success team as well. We're not going to make her stand as her foot is in a boot. All of the teachers that were part of this, I do need to take a time and recognize who they were, because they took time out of their class to come together for hours upon hours, and then hours outside of the school time to be able to bring this home, if you will. So Kristen Dorico, department head social studies at the high school, Shannon Wazalewski, the English department head and teacher, Matt Struble, our special education department head. As far as teachers, Laura Hutchins, Amber McGrath, Allison Warren, our counselor. At the middle school, our teachers, Stephanie O'Keefe, Jennifer Bethel, Lee Ricci. And then our elementary representation for across the 3 elementary schools, we had Jackie Godbout, Caitlin Kerrigan, Wendy Smith, Erin, as I mentioned, Erin Goodrich. And then our parents and community members. We were so fortunate to have 6 parents that joined this planning team as well. Cal Ashara, Monique Ellison, Danielle McGeary, Michael Rogovan, Lee Ansgara, and Christy Yankee. So being able not to just to have perspective during those focus groups, to be in the work with us and to give up their time, we're really appreciative to have the parent voice there. Some of them are also on school councils, so they kind of did double effort. So the plan would not have been able to be as comprehensive as it is without all of those voices. So the process itself, again, it said that we began in January, not January, probably February in 2025, and then created this roadmap for improvement that will take us from now until 2030. It really is a set of actions for us as a school system that we're pursuing through objective strategic initiatives in order to do the work that is before us with our students, to continue to strive for excellence and look for areas of improvement. In phase 1 of this, that's when we collected all of that data from what I mentioned, from the focus group surveys and all of those different groups. In phase 2, that planning committee took that information, analyzed the data. We took data sources from whether it's academic achievement, from social emotional learning, like all different pieces of data, and brought that together to help inform this work and for us to be able to establish what our strategic objectives and focus areas, along with the key actions to get the work done through that second phase. And then the final phase is bringing that information together and developing the rest of the contents of this plan and what it looks like. It begins with our mission, and our mission here is who we are and why we exist, and what we need to do, and who benefits, and and what the results are of the work that we're going to do, which is to create a welcoming school environment where every student will learn, grow, and thrive. It's simple, and it's meant to be simple, because that is why we are here. As far as our vision, it is looking to see it's our aspirations, it's what we aspire to achieve, and that is for our students to be empowered to learn, inspired to explore, and motivated to achieve. And that is on the beliefs of our core values that you see here. And this might be familiar to you when you think back to our vision of a graduate. And it was really leveraging all of the work from the vision of a graduate that really comes home to what those values are. And that is for our students to think critically, make an impact, to communicate responsibly, and discover their potential. So when we think of our mission, our vision, and our core values, all of the reasons we exist and what we aspire to be able to do for our students, in order to do that, those key actions, it really is that theory of action. And so if we ensure student success through innovative instruction and responsive systems, we provide an inclusive whole child support, sustain access to technology and digital resources, and maintain a safe and well-resourced learning environment, then will be able to create that welcoming school environment where students will be able to learn, grow, and thrive. And in order to do all of that with all of the data analysis, taking all of that into account, was then put into 3 focus areas. If you think back in the past, our plan for success had 4 pillars of success. We looked at our last plan for success to see how that is another data point and how that would inform this work going forward. There was a lot of conversation about these focus areas, having it down to 3. We did have 4 pretty much most of the time period through this work, and then we realized a lot of overlap. And so it came into 3 main focus areas. And those are learning and leading, supporting the whole child, and supporting safe, innovative, and inclusive schools. So we're just going to highlight in each of these focus areas, they're all driven by the strategic objective and then the initiatives and the action steps. This is a 5-year plan. So the work that we're doing this year is a piece of each of these focus areas. And then you'll hear how did we address particular areas when we report out at the end of the school year, and then it'll drive our goals for the next school year. So if we look just at this first focus area of learning and leading, Dr. Burrows is going to just highlight a couple of the areas within these objectives and initiatives.
So you'll notice within this focus area that there are a number of things that we've been talking about for a number of years within our plan for success, but you'll notice that we're taking the next step with those items. So underneath learning and leading, our goal here, our overarching goal, is to ensure student success across pre-K-12 through innovative instruction and responsive systems that meet the diverse needs of all learners. We have 3 strategic objectives underneath that. That first objective that you see there, to engage in continuous improvement in instructional practices. Some of the items underneath there that might sound familiar to you. You see that vision of a graduate implementation underneath there. Another item you might notice, the science of reading. There's a little bit about literacy instruction, about reading and writing stamina. If you recall, earlier this year, we've had a number of teaching and learning highlights. We've also had our baseline and benchmarks presentation where our curriculum directors spoke a little bit about increasing reading and writing stamina. So that's something that we're going to be focusing on over the course of the next few years. Underneath the next strategic objective, that focuses really on future-ready skills and competencies, and that's where you're going to see an emphasis on building an AI literacy framework that really is going to support our students and our faculty in understanding how AI is integrated in our curriculum and instruction, and how we're also going to be supporting our students in understanding how to use AI and how that might change how learning happens for them and what those products might look like when they're demonstrating their learning in the future. You'll also notice under that future-ready strategic objective that there's a little bit there about expanding STEM opportunities, innovation pathways, expanding Project Lead the Way. Our teaching and learning highlights for the past 2 school committee meetings have actually focused on Project Lead the Way. We've been doing quite a bit of work at the high school level to expand those opportunities. We do intend on continuing to do that, and that will be our focus over the next few years. And our third strategic objective underneath this focus area is on data-informed practices. You haven't necessarily heard us speak about that yet this year, but we do have an assessment platform committee that has been meeting throughout this school year, and later this spring, that committee is going to be coming to you with recommendations for a new assessment platform that we're going to be adopting and implementing over the course of the next few years, and really focusing on that and focusing on aligning those assessment practices across K-12. So that is coming as well. In the next focus area, would you like me to go on, or did I miss anything?
No, we'll just probably just stop there to see if there's any questions under that particular focus area. Some of it, I would hope that it's becoming very familiar, more nuanced with specific presentations that take place, and will continue over the course of the year before we even report out on all of these areas.
Okay. And you've noticed this year, even just with our teaching and learning highlights, that we're already starting at. This is just the beginning. So in our second focus area on supporting the whole child, again, you'll notice some pieces from our previous plan for success, and we're continuing to expand and deepen our implementation of some of these practices. So you notice the inclusive practices playbook. You've heard me talk about that a number of times. I won't speak to that one. I think our biggest undertaking this year is probably the special education review that Mr. Michael Lazik is leading this year. That's an independent external review. That is site visits, walkthroughs, interviews, data. We have an independent consultant coming in and looking at our special education programs across the district. And those recommendations that are coming out of that review are going to drive a lot of the changes and a lot of the work within student services over the course of the strategic plan. So that's really our big bite underneath this pillar and this strategic objective for this school year. The second strategic objective really focuses on student support systems. We talked in our culture and climate survey about transitions and really supporting student transitions. There's also so it's not just elementary to middle and middle to high school. It's also the high school and beyond transition that is on our radar and something we really want to focus on. And it's also the pre-K to kindergarten transition as well. So there are some plans and some action items embedded in there that you'll see that focus on really strengthening that process and making sure that we're aligned with that process across the district. And underneath the third objective within this focus area is really and further emphasis on social emotional learning, restorative practices. As you know, we have a peer mediation program that we've been building in the middle and high school, and we've been working on restorative practices and SEL curriculum and SEL universal screeners across K-12, and just strengthening that and realigning that curriculum and making sure that it's still working and making sure that those practices are consistent will be one of those focus areas.
And I think that's when we talk about taking something and strengthening, it's really looking at what we've done, where we've been, but refining that and going deeper in order to best meet the needs of the students that are in front of us. Whether it's our universal screeners and the data that we have, what are we doing every day? We are a very, as you've heard many times over, and we've celebrated the inclusivity of our district and all of the opportunities for students. But again, looking deeper and how are we meeting the needs of all of our students when we think about the whole child. As we look at the third focus area, supporting safe and innovative and inclusive schools, that's making sure that we ensure a safe and well-maintained and innovative learning environment for our students, and that we have staffing to be able to meet those goals. So under this particular focus area, you know, the one that's front and center there is the renovation of the Taylor Elementary School. So excited, the fourth submission of the statement of interest that we got invited into the MSBA's grant program. So we've had our first orientation model with MSBA, and the next steps there will take the warrant article to town meeting to be able to get the funding to begin the feasibility study, and we'll start that. It will be a long process before we get to each of the stages, and then we have our OPM and architect and all of that time frame. will seem like it's going slow at times, and then at certain times it'll feel like it's going really quickly. But just to finally get invited into that program, by the time you break ground, you're still looking at a couple of years away with the work that has to be done ahead of time. But what I can tell you is when we did the Borough project, every step, the earliest time before you could get forward to present before the MSBA, we were there. We were ready. We were first in line to be able to get in that their docket, if you will. So there will be a lot of work this year as far as that piece. But at the same time, there's a lot of work when we look in the area of supporting our environment with technology and meeting students' needs in classrooms. You'll hear more in our agenda item of the CIP with capital planning. So technology, when you think back to COVID, and we had one-to-one all at once, and at the same time we had projectors in classrooms. Technology, if you think about just how often you might be upgrading even your phone or your own digital device at home, we have that in the schools as well. Whether it's the bulbs and projectors that we can no longer replace, and you can't replace projectors, we've been able to leverage things in different ways in the past that we just can't do anymore as technology's changed, and you're going to see that reflected in the CIP budget in order to be able to keep up with not just laptop refreshes for staff as well as students, but when we look at our digital lab, like our art lab at the high school, when we look at the interactive display boards that are now going into classrooms, because as you see that projector up there on the wall, we're not able to continue with those because as technology's changed. And we've been able to really leverage them a lot by replacing bulbs or using the same mount and putting projectors up there. We can't do that. So those are some of the things you see within this focus area to be supported for our school environment, as well as continuing to expand video camera coverage in different areas. We've expanded that this year already in areas, looking at other mechanisms with doors that need to be replaced, like gym doors, those kinds of things, or the curtains on stage at the middle school or the high school. So that's learning environment, as well as the seats that our students sit in when we talk about flexible seating as an example. So that's all part of this area, as well as looking at the safety of our environment, but the operational side of facilities as well. The second initiative here, to be able to be prepared and responsive, that is the video coverage that goes along with that, but at the same time, it's looking at access control. It's looking at visitors in and out of buildings. It's looking at, bless you.
Sorry.
We have and have had in place our school-wide crisis and district crisis teams, and working to continue to ready our buildings, our staff, our students through those different reunification simulations and different types of exercises and drills. So it really is running from an operational to facilities to our district crisis teams and the work that we do in conjunction with our public safety agencies as well. The last strategic initiative here, which is to implement best practices when it comes to human resources and strategic communications. One of the things that we're spending a lot of time on this particular year is implementing an HR platform, HR software platform. It's not just for hiring, which is going to be, and has been already, a game changer for us. It's implementing this platform with our staff. And that is going to be a rollout at the end of January. So as an example, when they are looking at professional development that they've done on their own or professional development that we're offering, and they have to be relicensed every 5 years and have the credentials that they need in order to relicense. It's kind of a one-stop shop that they'll be able to go in to see what we have on file for all the graduate courses that they've taken, to be able to see that in one place. They can also use it as a depository for putting their own professional development and keeping track of that if they so choose. But it's going to help us have what we call an authoritative source between our different digital platforms, which is going to help with different structures from not just in HR, but with business, accounting, and all of those different backups for efficiency and productivity. So a lot of work is taking place there, and there's a lot of gratitude to go out to many people when it comes to that. I would like to just publicly say thank you to our technology department. We don't have a company that comes in and does this. It has been a huge lift for them under the direction of Aaron Heyer and all of the work he personally has put into it and some of his own technology staff too. It is amazing the amount of work that's gone into it and how much we're going to benefit from that in the future. So we are very fortunate to have them and all the work that they've done there. And then the last one I'll just mention as far as one of the outcomes under this last initiative is developing a strategic communication plan. And what that looks like from a continuity from levels we've heard over the years. If you're an elementary student, there's different forms of communication. Our principals, their newsletters, high praise from parents and guardians of what the communication comes out at the school level. We hear that from staff as well as from our parents and the community. Our principals do an amazing job of communicating. And our teachers communicate with parents in different platforms too, whether it's through Power School or whether it's through Seesaw at the elementary level, but then the website as well. It's time for us to take another look at the website and redesign the school and district website. So that's a future goal as well, but really looking at more of a strategic communication plan district-wide and what that looks like. So that's under that last strategic initiative. And then the last page that you have, because as Sarah likes to remind us of our acronyms, please articulate what the acronym is. And so we have a glossary of terms there at the end because it is riddled throughout the document with acronyms, and some of them are easier to remember than others. So that glossary of term is at the end. And then most importantly, as the final page here, which really goes back to what our mission, our vision, our core values, and why we exist and what we're doing for students. It is a 5-year plan, as we said at the outset. The work that we do every year, whether it's from curriculum, staffing, student supports, it is what we use to drive our budget and to be able to do what we do for kids and to support them every day. So you've heard that over the last 4 years of the last plan. We will continue to come back. It is a living document. It is not a plan that's developed and sits on a shelf. Principals use it for their school improvement plans, their goals, and to be able to look back and to say, okay, where do I align with the district improvement plan, which is what this is.
Amazing. Thank you for the glossary, by the way. Thank you very much. There's so much work that has gone into this, and it's so exciting for us as a committee to be able to vote this plan in tonight. So thank you for all the efforts of everybody on the committee. Anyone have any questions, comments? No. I will entertain a motion if somebody would like to make one.
I make a motion to approve the plan for success for 2025 to 2030 as presented here tonight.
Second.
Any further questions, comments, or discussion? All in favor? With much gratitude to you and your team. We're very excited.
And we do have Mr. Michael Lazick and Ms. Frazier, and we had Dr. Donovan here early. They are key players within this plan. So I mentioned at the beginning the 5 central office and the 5 principals. A lot of time and effort, and maybe sometimes more than what they thought that they were having to put forth.
Thank you all very much. We appreciate your effort in this. Thank you. Thanks so much. Okay, on to, it was a perfect lead-in. You talked about the budget. We are going to move right along to a continued discussion of proposed FY27 budget. Ms. Sheridan.
Yes, your favorite topic. We're on budget. But tonight we're basically just going to show you the 3 proposals that we had and go over them, see if there's any other questions you have or discussions you want. As we know, the next school committee meeting will be the vote on which budget that we're going to present to AdCom. It will also be the budget hearing will be next week, which is, we are going to have a presentation starting at 6, right? So it will be an opportunity for the public to view and get more information so they themselves can make informed decisions at town meeting. So that will also be next week. So if you
2 weeks on the 28th.
I'm sorry,
2
the
weeks.
next school committee meeting on the
Yes, thank
28th,
you.
January 28th.
Scared me for a second there.
I know, yeah.
A little too soon.
So just for a quick second, I want to say thank you to that. We're doing something, we're kind of trying something a little new for Foxborough and just for the committee. So on the 28th, we will just convene a half hour early. Ms. Sheridan, just to give everybody a quick overview on what the hearing is, Ms. Sheridan will do a presentation on the budget, and we will have time for open public comment. So if anybody wanted to come in, ask questions, engage. So just to let everyone know what we are doing on the 28th. So.
Right. And the public should know that there'll be copies of the budgets
yes.
on that day.
Yep.
It'll be a little bit, you've already seen most of the presentation, but it's always to view it again.
Well, yes, absolutely.
So, but
and it gives
first time for a lot of the public. So.
For sure. It gives the public an opportunity outside of town meeting, outside of, it gives them an opportunity to engage and ask questions, because we've seen it a lot, but sometimes it might be the first time someone's seen it.
Different audiences have not seen it.
For sure.
So it's
for
nice
sure.
to have that,
so
that
I
public
thank you in
hearing.
advance for your efforts putting that together, and thank you for all your continued work. So.
Thanks. So the 3 budgets, I want to go back to the first page? Right there. So we have 3 proposals that we had presented. Proposal number 1 is a $44,967,943, which is a 3.22% increase. That one, as you recall, is the same full-time equivalencies as FY26. That is not what we would consider level service on that. That proposal number 1. On proposal number 2, the 45,168,056, that has an additional 1 teacher and 3.5 elementary educational assistants that we do have in place in this school year. So there would be layoffs if we do not go to proposal 2. Because there's 4.5 that we did not get in on that, the level service of the full-time equivalencies. That proposal number 3 is adding 2 additional guidance counselors. So that would be to improve academic and social emotional development for students, which is essential for the learning. So that's what proposal 3 adds, the 2 guidance counselors. And before we get to a little bit more of the discussion or questions, I just want to remind everybody of what level service budget is. So level service budget keeps the same level of teaching and learning services for students. It absorbs fixed cost increases while maintaining existing student experiences resources. It allows for financial budget increases from the previous year in order to maintain all those programs. So that would include like transportation, special education, inflation, all those different things that happen. A level service doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be the same budget amount that you had the previous year. That would be a level funded budget. And level funded budget is really difficult because those really don't take into consideration your increases not only in your staff with your steps and lanes and colas, but also, as you remember, even in your own homes, your utilities go up, your inflation happens, everybody has electric bills go up. So very, very difficult to stay at a level funded budget. So we do feel that proposal number 2 would be more in line with the level service budget that the town has recommended they first recommended to come in about 3.25, but to stay at what we feel is close to level service, that's pretty much impossible for us. So we would have to go to proposal number 2. And even with proposal number 3, that also the guidance needs that the district has with proposal number 3 would be something to think about when you're considering 1, 2, and 3.
So just to add a little bit here, think about what our needs are in order to maintain what we have right now, as Karen had said with proposal 2. That is exceeding the 3.25% from what the town had projected during the financial summit. But that would be cuts for us, as she said. And then when you look at that third proposal, that is at 3.98%, we have continued to have increased needs and services for students. Our students that are in some of our specialized programs, we've expanded those programs to be able to have our students remain with us. And when you have expanded programs, there's expanded needs and services that are there. So when we think about the work of our teachers and our educational assistants and our administrators in those buildings, and if you increase in those programs, the needs that come there are more significant complex needs. We've also had enrollment increases as well. So when you think about the sizes of our elementary schools, you have a principal and you have one counselor that's there. But you've got these expanded programs. They're district programs. We just have each of our elementary schools that house a different district program, whether it's our developmental learning center, whether it's our therapeutic programs, whether it's our step-in, step-out programs. They're district programs, so depending on the needs of students, but they're very different needs. And with the complex needs with students and increased enrollments and the sheer number of students that are within those programs that have expanded greatly in number, again, the needs that are there. So when we think about a counselor, it's not just for the students. Counselors are also supporting our staff that are there. They're supporting our families as well. So we have those proposals there. The budget subcommittee has met a number of times to talk about those different ones. At the same time, we work very closely with the town. We are very transparent with our budget that we have and the needs that are there. So we're articulating what the needs are, but keep in mind, even with that third proposal that's there, you saw in the presentation in December, there's a lot of needs that we don't even have that are there. As an example, when we talked about the increase in enrollment with our 4th graders going into 5th grade, and having 8 classroom teachers there. Class size is always something that is, we strive to have excellent class sizes. We do, but our enrollment, as we talked about at the last meeting, is increasing, and we see that bubble where at the elementary level, it has completely shifted in the last couple of years with our increasing enrollment. At the same time, we've seen the decline in enrollment at the high school, and so we have a bottom-based budget, so we have shifts that happen because we have to be able to be agile and address the needs, and we've done that within the budget. We've been fortunate to have newcomer money in the past. We don't have that going forward. The needs are there, but we have made cuts when we think about at the high school based on enrollment going down last year and this year with different content areas, as well as we've done that at the middle school, but we've seen that enrollment increase at the elementary. So other areas that we've talked about, the digital learning coach, where we had hoped to put in a science, technology, engineering, math, a STEM teacher. We weren't able to do that. That is still on that other list that you had as far as needs. So I just want to make sure that that's articulated. I know we'll have the next presentation during the budget hearing, but it is a conversation that this is trying to work with what the town has presented to us. It's articulating the absolute priorities that are here, but it does not meet all of the needs that we've talked about in the past.
I did want to say a few other things just to give you a little bit of idea of how difficult it is to get to where we are today with the three proposals we have here. So when you're building a budget, my job is to help the district to build a budget that's not only sustainable for the town, but also meets the needs of the districts and the students. So I want you all to remember when we did the presentation, the major thing that was in this budget, there was really only one big budget challenge, and that was payroll. Because salaries went from FY25 of 84% of your budget to FY26 of 85% of your budget to FY27 86% of your budget. And we talked about the wonderful thing that you have in this district, that people stay. So they're at pretty much a lot of the top steps, which is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful for the district, for the students, but it's more costly for the district. And the other thing is, when we look at this, because if you look at just at Proposal 2, so the increase in Proposal 2 was $1,602,068. Of that $1,602,068, the increase in salaries was $1,727,671. So there was a decrease in expenditures, which is really difficult to do when you think of inflation and the cost of technology and the costs of books and stuff. So we really, really had to dig through that budget to use our outside resources, use more of the outside resources like your revolving funds, try to really dig and see where we can make some movements there. So I know that in seeing this percentage increase is higher than the original 3.25 that the target was, but it's really difficult to get to these percentages and be able to do that in a way that, you know, you're keeping, trying to meet the needs of the district and to meet the needs of the students. It's just hard, especially, you know, when you're seeing expenditures, and everybody's seeing that everywhere. They're just rising. So I just wanted people to keep that in mind when you're looking at these percentages and these three proposals, that they weren't like real easy to get to. We started at a high percentage and whittled it down, as the budget subcommittee knows, to get to these percentages. And I know it's a very difficult decision for the committees and the towns, but I just wanted everybody to understand that the biggest challenges that you have here with trying to meet that. And your town has, I mean, not your town is very good to the schools, and so we can't not say that. They're very good to the schools with your budget and your capital. It's just everywhere that needs a higher, the costs are greater.
So I don't know if you had additional questions or there's other additional information between now and the next meeting, or the budget subcommittee, if they had anything that they wanted to share or discussion before we move to the CIP presentation.
I guess my biggest question is where we are landing as a committee on these three proposals. I mean, I don't think I want to see any layoffs. And so tell us, budget subcommittee, please just give us feelings.
I don't think we're thinking that Proposal 1 is a possibility. And I appreciate, again, Karen and her team and everybody, the work that they did to work within the budget that the town gave us to show us what that was going to give us, and the amount of cuts that she made in other areas to make that happen. Unfortunately, that's going to cause layoffs. And again, with our changing populations, that's school population, that's just not something that I think we can afford right now. The reason why we're showing, Proposal 2 and 3, we want to be transparent. We want everybody to see how hard it is that we are working within this budget and how much what we are foregoing to get there. Again, this type of thing, I'm concerned, isn't going to be sustainable long term. Like, last year was tough, this year was tougher. I'm afraid next year will be tougher. Like, I'm not sure how we approach this, how we fix this, but this is just not sustainable. I believe, and Nate, please correct me if I'm wrong, that for now we're landing in the middle on Proposal 2 as a recommendation, because we think Proposal 3 at this point will be a tough hit for the town to take. It's just, this is, we're already in the budget season. Town meeting is soon. But this may be a discussion that we need to have forward going with the town, that this type of funding, or we have to look into something else. We have to make other considerations. I don't know, maybe Karen can pull something else out of her hat. I don't know. But something has to change, because this for the schools are not sustainable to, again, and we just talked about how great our surveys went. And, in our plan going forward, or, strategic plan, these are all the things that we want to maintain, and we want to do this, and we want to do this to the best of our ability. Proposal 1 isn't going to get us there, unfortunately. So I mean, I can tell you right off the bat that one, for me, it's out.
So you're leaning toward, you want to lean towards, I think we all feel the same way. Of course, ideally, we'd like to have the supports we need and the additional staff. But right now, you feel that with what's going on at the town and what the town has asked us to do, that proposal number 2 is the choice?
I mean, we need more than proposal 3. I mean, you want to be honest, like as they say, we need more than proposal 3. Like, but again, that's asking too much. Again, at this point in time where we are, and again, with the timing of everything, I think it would be wise at this point to go with proposal 2. But again, that may be a discussion we need to have with the town going forward. And there are things that within our budget that could possibly change, that could actually, make proposal 2 work a little bit better for us. I mean, again, unless anybody disagrees with me,
I just want to point this out. You had just said, if anything changes within our budget, obviously we can make it work for us.
We can make things work better if there are other things that happen, I
want to point out for anyone tuning in that, as far as the fixed costs outside of salaries, Ms. Sheridan has really worked hard to, lower our costs outside of salaries. But as you've described so many times, because the bulk of our budget is salaries, it becomes very tricky. I don't want to. I'm just going to speak for myself. I don't want to see layoffs. That's why. I don't want to see a cut in service to our students.
No, that's unfortunately why we don't believe that proposal 1 is workable, is feasible for the school. But and again, proposal 3 at this point in time may be too much of a reach for the town to ask, especially given, we all attended the financial summit. We know what was said there. They are being very fiscally conservative, and that's what makes Foxborough, that's what's making us successful. So at this time, again.
Anyone have any other questions or comments on this?
I mean, I'll just jump in and add, like, that third proposal there with 3.98, it says new staff requests. That's like 1/20th of the new staff requests that we have, and that's like a very tiny percentage of what we need. I mean, when we first started this, I would say the percent was probably, with all the requests and everything, close to like 7 or 8. So we've really spent a lot of time. I mean, we spent 2 hours yesterday just talking about kind of going back and forth between proposal 2 and 3. So we really are trying to be as fiscally conservative as we can. But at the end of the day, I mean, I speak for myself. Layoffs is kind of just a no-brainer. Like when we saw proposal 1, thank you to Karen and her whole team for doing it. That's what the town asked, but that really wasn't something we kind of took seriously yesterday at our budget subcommittee meeting, because we do not want layoffs. So those proposals, although they are higher than the town requested, that really is just the best we can do.
Thank you.
Another thing to point out is, I understand, we look at in terms of percentages. It is very hard when it is unfortunate that that's how we look at things, but when you actually see the increase between the actual dollar amount, it's not that high. And I know, I wish we could pull it off. It's just, unfortunately, at this point, at this time, I don't think it's doable. But yes, I agree with Nate. Proposal 1 just is, neither one of us believes that it's doable.
I agree.
So I just want to get some clarification for people that are looking at this without the inner knowledge for it. The full-time employees for proposal 1 is 416, which is consistent with the current one. And you guys are talking about how proposal 1 leads to layoffs, which I'm not doubting, but I was just wondering if you could sort of provide some context for it, because when we're looking at that sheet right there, it looks like there's 5 employees added to proposal 2. So this is just so we can add more context to it for the people that are actually going to vote on it, so they sort of understand what that means. And so you can sort of talk about how the change in enrollments affect the change in budgetary needs for it and along those lines, because sometimes we want to be clear to the rest of the town and sort of lay out there that the difference between, basic budget stuff, the difference between a need and a want and a have to have, things like that.
I'll give a simple piece and then let Karen, who's her wheelhouse. Just as an example that I think people will remember is all of the newcomer money that came in. We got additional newcomer money that came in August. We also saw our enrollment at the elementary level that increased. So those numbers, and I want to be really, really clear when I give examples of this, and when we're saying proposal 1 to proposal 2 could be cuts, I'm not in any way saying what those cuts are. I just need to be really clear. I'm just giving an example of enrollment implications of what happened. So we reinstated a 4th grade classroom. We had kindergarten enrollments that came in higher than what we had before. The reason we were able to do that in big part was because of the newcomer funds that came in and being able to offset salaries. We no longer have that newcomer funding source. So when we think about those positions, we were able to do it in addition of those FTEs. We had an additional funding source that we don't have going forward, but those are positions, FTEs that we have in place. Now we have a bottom-based budget where we move depending on needs. We're down 1 less English teacher at the high school this year. We've already, it's based on enrollment. We'll be down a math teacher at the high school. We went down an L teacher last year. We will be going down another L teacher. Those are positions that we know because it's tied to enrollment. But it's a point in time and it can change, and we need to be able to look at where the enrollment shifts. I mean, it's based on kindergarten now and the numbers that we have, and we haven't even started kindergarten registration for next year. So, but the newcomer funding is one example of that. So I'll let Karen give other specifics, but I think that's the easiest way to think of it, and that difference, and that's a funding source that we're able to do that and be able to have the class sizes that Foxborough has always been able to pride itself on. Sometimes we have the bubbles because of the 3 neighborhood schools, but when we look at our elementary class sizes, we have wonderful class sizes at our elementary levels across all 3 schools.
The 416 to the 416, the 416 that's the full-time equivalencies we had in the FY26 budget. And then, so what we were trying to show in that was if we kept it the same full-time equivalents that we had in the budget. But then, oftentimes, a budget is a picture in time. You have to present a budget that at this moment in time, this is the needs of the school. So many times you get to September and things shift because you've got enrollment that increases. You've got IEPs that come in and the services for that child are different. So there were some additional positions that had to be put in place this year, and to be able to pay for those additional positions that had to be put into place, which was enrollment and special needs. I mean, not special needs, special education needs. Oftentimes, Corey can meet to that, is related to their IEPs and mandated services. So we did use the newcomers money. We had some newcomers money that we were able to shift some of the EL teachers into the newcomers money, but that newcomers money is going away. And a big chunk of the money that we had left came after the budget that we presented last year. We did not even know we were getting any more of that newcomers money. And that newcomers money can only be spent in certain areas. So in order to not have to go back to the town for additional positions that we needed, we kind of leveraged by taking some of the EL teachers and spending down the newcomers money, which you have to spend down anyways, And the positions that we were able to put into the newcomers money would be the EL teachers. So that's how we were able to fund it in FY26 without having going back to the town and without have to really dig into like your the way you do your circuit breaker and stuff, where you keep that 1 year. So that's how we were able to do that for FY26. And FY27, newcomers money's gone. All your COVID money's gone. A lot of your outside resources that you had in the COVID years, those are gone. But in any district that I've ever been in, there is different needs that happen during the actual school year, and you saw that, which Amy can speak better with that, is you take your budget and you have to prioritize the needs that are happening. So we did see, like she explained, some of the positions that we did not have in place.
Well,
but
for
then
instance,
other positions that were in place.
one of our special ed district programs that is at the Taylor, based on the number of students that moved in, if we can create a program or expand the program that we have, it's in the best interest of the student to be able to stay here. And it's cost effective in not having transportation costs and costs for out of district placement and all of those. But most importantly for the student and for the family, if we're able to meet the needs here, then we want to be able to expand those programs. And then that also is cost effective, which is the byproduct of that. So if we have specific questions to that, that's more, we have Mr. Michaelasic here. I know he'd be more than happy to come up to the table and be able to answer any questions.
And your class sizes, like even your policy, doesn't it state
based on elementary, we try to be within a range,
right,
because of what Foxborough values. And so we do the best that we can for that. And sometimes you can predict it and sometimes you can't, just as we can't predict students that move in that might have higher needs than other students that move in or move out. But to be able to provide the education that we do, we're very proud of the excellent education that our students are offered every single day, because we have an experienced, as Karen mentioned, staff, very talented staff, and our students benefit from that.
And the one other thing is, the reason a school budget is a bottom line budget is because I think it's recognized that needs do fluctuate. And that happens every year. You see that some years, it's just different every year, but there is fluctuation in the needs. And with the bottom line budget, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to prioritize your needs for your students, again, because that's what we're all here for, to give the best education to our children. And that's basically what we did in 26. I mean, there was some changes in staffing with prioritizing the needs that were greater than others, and then really leveraging the outside resources that you had in FY26 to be able to do that without having to go to the town for more money. So, I mean, that's just budgeting. I mean, with the bottom line, that's what you are supposed to be doing, trying to get the best bang for your dollar, to get the best education for your children. And sometimes that's what happens in the year. You have to prioritize, because sometimes when you building your budget and this is all the data that you have coming in and you got your picture in time, and as I always give the example of COVID, because in COVID it was like, okay, COVID came. That budget was just like, okay, throw it up in the air, because there was so many other needs that came at that time. And it's not always as great as COVID, but things do happen in budgets, which is why schools have that bottom line budget, to be able to have a little bit of authority, and the budget transfers to be able to prioritize the needs that you need to get the best education for your children. So I don't know if that answers your question, but.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions, comments? Anyone? I thank you very much for all your thoughtfulness, and I do thank Nathan and Michelle for all your time and effort on the budget subcommittee. I appreciate your candor in bringing back, your true feelings about, where we're at with the three choices. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. We are going to go right along, actually, Ms. Sheridan and Dr. Burdos. I'm going to have you talk a little bit about the capital improvement plan, the draft for 27.
Sure. So each of these slides are going to outline the different components of this, and then we'll focus more so on FY26 where we are, and then FY27.
Okay, want to start? So here you have, I'm going to start with transportation. So as you know, we have the in-house transportation for the students. And the replacement factors for the transportation for the buses for your district has been the consideration of 10 years, 100,000 miles, as well as the condition of the vehicle. So when you're determining, what you're going to be doing with the vehicles those years, we do chat with Chris Gallagher and his team, a mechanic and stuff, to see what we think we're going to need for capital. And we do look at all those factors when we are determining that. For FY27, we are requesting 1 minibus and 2 77-passenger buses. We currently have 16 route buses and 7 spares for the 77 buses, and we have 5 route buses and 2 spares for the minibuses. There definitely is a need. We've got some buses that are getting higher in mileage, get a little bit worn out, and when some of those buses are off, it gets a little tight with the spares. So we definitely have to stay with that 1 minibus and the 2 77 passengers. So we do have that in for FY27 through FY31. Unfortunately, the price of buses is just skyrocketing. I don't know if you remember at the fall town meeting when I was asking if some vendor would hold a bus for me because it was much less than what I knew the next year buses were going to be. So we were able to get that with that fall town meeting. But those prices of buses are just skyrocketing. And the crazy thing is the minibuses are getting almost as much as the 77 passengers. So it's kind of crazy what's going on with the transportation. So that's what we're looking for the buses. And you'll see in FY28, we're going to be needing a wheelchair bus. So that's why that one's a little higher. I did add a little bit of percentage increase going out for 29, 30, and 31 due to inflation. But we did get quotes on everything for the FY27 request. We do have quotes for those. The copy machines, so your district has been, the replacement for the copy machines has been 3 to 4 years of replacements. Also, again, considering the conditions of the machines. We've been trying to transition a little bit to leasing of the machines. The 3-year leases, there weren't a huge increase in purchasing versus leasing. So the leases will come in, the 3-year leases, and then at the end of the lease, that lease already tells you how much you'll be paying per copy if you stay on a service contract with them. So it gives you a little bit of time to determine whether you're going to keep that machine or not. And then we're not going full blown going into leases and all the machines. We are evaluating the machines and doing it a little bit at a time. So for the copy machines, we stayed in line. We added 5% for inflation to the 40,000 that you've had. That 40,000, I looked through, and it's been for years that it was 40,000. So I did add 5% inflation for 27. And again, I added 5% each year for inflation for the copy machines. And we'll keep that the amount of money that we get in the capital and determine, the lease, how many that we can move over to leasing each year. It's about probably three leases that we can do a year. But then there are some machines that are still fine, so we'll, over time, be evaluating those. And once we get on a leasing schedule, then it will be really easy to determine what the cost will be each year for that. For technology, I don't know if Darren's here, but I can speak to it a little bit. For technology, for FY27, the town has supported an annual replacement budget for the school district to maintain its technology infrastructure. You have your software, you have your hardware and equipment, and you also have your one-to-one computer environment. And that's, you've got to remember, you've got your student devices, you also have your staff devices. So for FY27, Aaron Heyer, the Director of Technology, has put in for $419,600. It's a little higher than last year, but for FY27, he's looking to do the high school digital art lab refresh, and he's adding some more touch screens to replace the classroom projectors at the high school. The projectors are pretty much old school, and we're trying to each year, we did a lot last year with them, but the high school still needs some of these touch screens, so those are in that $419,600.
Can I just jump in there too? So with the laptop replacement, so to be online, no pun intended, or in line with to be able to keep up with the replacement of those laptops. Our goal is to do 3 grade levels, if you will, a year: an elementary, a middle school, and a high school for those replacements, to be able to make sure that we're staying to where we can maintain that replacement cycle, and it's to keep them current and best practice. So it's 3 levels a year, like we did our 11th graders here recently, and then for those interactive projectors, it's to go along with our plan is an 8% replacement each year to replace those interactive display boards too. So there is a full plan in order to be able to stay on target. It's the 3 grade levels a year. It's the 8% of the interactive display boards that are there. And as I was saying earlier, we can no longer, as they were, rebuilding bulbs or replacing on the same mount, and those technologies changed. So if we don't continue to keep up with that plan, then we're going to get behind.
The other thing, if you note in your packet, in the FY29, there is a little bit of jump because that's a year that he'll be doing the teacher computer replacement year. So you're going to have that jump in that year. And as with anything else, technology has been hit a lot with rising costs of technology. And
the other piece too, just as a reminder, is the CAD lab, the digital art lab at the high school, which those are the Macs in that lab. They come with a very different cost structure that come with those, and they are, I think, 7 to 8 years old at this point in time. So that's another piece of that cost that's there, is to replace that art lab.
We can move on to other equipment. So some of the principals' requests are in here. So for FY27, the middle school, as you recall, last year they had the first phase of the library refresh. So they're doing it in 3 phases. FY27 would be phase 2. FY28 would be phase 3. So they're asking for $33,000 for phase 2 of that library refresh.
And you can see a snapshot there of the pictures. So if you think about the part of the library that's closest to the bus circle, that was that first phase installed there. Great excitement over that, the different seating, and then the right-hand picture that you see too, again, those chairs, and there's lily pads for seating in the windows. One of my personal favorites, when you walk up to the Ahern and you see the kids in the windows with books and sitting there, and it's beautiful and great excitement. I mean, Ms. Fraser's here. I'm sure she can emphasize that as well. But it is a 3-phase because we couldn't do it all at once. So new carpet in there is phase 1, which is beautiful. And then also the furniture that you see there is a snapshot of that.
Yeah, it looks really nice. Also, at the middle school, the school auditorium curtains, we did replace one of the curtains, but they need, I think it's 2 others, Karen, curtains that need to be replaced. The high school gym, the divider curtain, and the PA system. So that $47,827 is all of those. The middle school auditorium curtains, high school gym divider curtain, and the PA system in the gym. So that's the $47,827. The high school classroom furniture, so this is a cycle, that continuation of the cycle of the replacement of their furniture. They're moving towards more flexible seating in the classrooms. Their furniture is about 30 years old, and this is the continuation of that cycle of replacement. It's going to be FY 27, 28, and 29, $30,000 for 27, 31.5, and then 33,075 for the third year. And the high school is requesting, not in 27, but in FY 28, they are wanting a van, a 12 to 15 passenger van to be used to transport some smaller athletic events and field trips, which would be really nice because recently there was a small group that were going to an athletic event, and we had to really scramble to get them there. So it would be nice to have this. So we're hoping to get that next year. That's about $114,450. Just so you know, those vans, they don't need the CDL drivers, so it's a little easier to get somebody to drive those. Some of the, even the director probably could drive that one.
It's worth noting, I think, sorry, I just want to jump in, regarding the furniture in the high school. I see that it's written in here that some students at the high school can't even fit in the seating
Right.
that's 30 years old. So I just want to point that out.
Yeah.
We talk about need versus want, so
Right.
I think it's important.
Just a different world.
And according, if I remember correctly from what Dr. Donovan had said at this point, it's about a dozen classrooms left to be able to, again, that cycle of furniture to which not the fixed where it's the desk and you have to kind of sit in, and it's more collaborative when we think about being able to be the flexible seating, move the desks together to put them into a collaborative group and to work together in group work. So it's part of that cycle that we've been doing every year, and we have about a dozen classrooms left, I believe.
Then we move on to major repairs. So for FY 27, the high school is looking for replacement interior doors and hardware for the boys and girls gymnasium. So these are the doors from the lobby to the gym. They feel like it's kind of becoming a safety issue there. They're getting old and just not working as well as they should be. That's estimated to be about $28,000. The big one for this year is the turf field. The high school turf field was installed in 2013. The recommended replacement is between 10 to 20 years, depending on the amount of use of the turf field. FY 27 will be about the 14-year mark. However, the warranty on it is gone, so there's no warranty left on it. That ended at 10 years. So they're looking for that in 27. According to Jim, the principal at the high school, he's saying there are some patches that are getting kind of rough on it. And also, what did they say? He had a mow an area?
Well, it's like when we had a patch that had to be replaced in it when they come in. The warranty's off of the field at this point. So, and then the replacement patch that came in, it's not at the same level because it's so old. So they actually had to shave down the patch in order to get it consistent with the rest of the field, as an example. We were fortunate that we didn't have as much use on it during the COVID time period. You also don't have football, as an example, practicing on it. The games aren't there, but it does get a lot of use with other sports. And it's past the warranty life, and then it's only because of the excellent care, which all of our staff has continued to do, but shout out to Mike, who has done an amazing job in keeping that field the best that it has been. But it's at that point in time to where it's that life, depending on how much it's used, and it's used by boys and girls. A lot of sports activities.
It is. For in FY 28, we are looking for, the high school is looking to replace carpet in the areas of the office area and the guidance in the main office, and also pave 2 classroom. So that is estimated in FY 28 at $35,640. The high school also would like to replace the upstairs library carpet. That is in FY28 at $37,950. And then in FY29, they would like to replace the downstairs library carpet, and that is estimated at about $42,900 because the carpet gets more and more expensive as you go forward. So that's $42,900. In FY29, the high school would like a third set of bleachers and away bleachers for the turf field. They're estimated currently at about $1,000 per seat, and then the drawings for the stands would have to be completed as we get closer. So that's an estimate of $594,000, and that's in FY29. And then the high school would like to build a locker room behind the weight room for football, moving it out of the IGO, and update the men's and women's locker room. This one kind of keeps getting kicked down the road because it's very expensive, $2,500,000, but they would really like that. So we have that in FY30. And then the final one for the major repairs is the high school to replace the auditorium seats. There's an estimate, because it's out in FY 2031. If you've been in the auditorium, it is kind of starting to get a little worn and a little dated. So it kind of reminds me of I don't know if you ever went to Franklin, the old cinema there.
Yes.
Doesn't it?
The Zeotrope.
Yeah.
I mean, it hasn't changed since I graduated. I graduated in '98.
The seats kind of have that
exactly the same in that
Yeah.
auditorium. Yeah.
That's what I think of
It's a
when I go in
very
there.
expensive undertaking. You wouldn't think that it would be, and we tried to leverage some of other state programs in the past, and still it just was not.
How much that cost for the Ahern seats? Because didn't they do that?
That was 20
20
years ago now, I think.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Time flies, Pat.
Well, I know the seats
I
in
think
the
the
high school are
Ahern
good.
was maybe 20 years ago.
Yeah, I think the high school
When they
seats are the
opened in
originals.
2001.
25 years ago.
Yeah, 24, 25 years
Wow.
ago.
That's crazy.
Time flies.
Yeah.
So maybe when
it's
we
in good
look
shape,
and
it
they're
just
projecting
needs-
5 years out.
Right. Then we're going to move on to building renovation. Again, yoo-hoo, you got the Taylor School here. So that $1 million in FY27, the Taylor School renovation, that's the preliminary cost for the architect, the owner's project manager. It's the estimated on the renovation expansion costs. So in FY28, it'd be about 45 million. But then the MSBA reimbursement is estimated to be about 20 million. So in FY27, it's $1 million, and then in 28, it's 25 million. However, in FY27, that $1 million, that funding source is not going to be free cash. That funding source is going to be the borough and DPW project, the amount of money that they have remaining in that. But I have been told that it still has to be approved as part of the capital project, even though it's not free cash. So again, that $1 million would not come out of free cash. The final one is the field renovation. So the Stather Field, which is behind Ahern. So Chris Gallagher has recommended this one. He feels that field needs some help. So we have put in an estimate of $30,000 to try to renovate that field, get it in a little bit better shape than it is. So for FY27, the total school capital improvement, if you go to the next one, I just wanted to give you a little bit of glimpse of it so you can have a better understanding of it, because it looks really high, but then when you take away some things, so it's $3,054,555. But if you subtract out the $1 million for the Taylor School, and you subtract out the turf field of $905, it's really just, those two are just really making that really high there. Then it brings the adjusted total to $1,149,555, which is an increase over last year of $375,555. So when you look at the things that we had to put in place here for the capital, the transportation, they're quotes. I can't do anything about the increase in the buses, and you have an in-house transportation. So that increase was $248,128, which is 66% of this $375. You also have your tech increases of $69,600, which is about 19% of that increase. and then the Statherfield is about 8%. So that total, 93% is just those three things. So unfortunately with the turf fields, it's a really big hit, but if you own a turf field, you got to keep it up. So you're better off keeping it up than having to replace it. So.
Just one thing on the transportation. With all the transportation costs you highlighted, I did want to, I'm sort of asking / telling you, are we still way ahead of the game by keeping transportation in-house, correct?
I haven't done a cost analysis on sending it out, but I mean, it's expensive either way if you send it out. If I was in a different district, I would say send it out because it's a lot of work. But you have amazing transportation department. They just do amazing work, and the needs aren't just getting a kid from home to school. They work their magic in other areas too. So in other districts, I would say, let's just outsource this. Here, I think I would recommend keeping it in, just because you just have such a great transportation department. So I have to give kudos to Lynn and Linda because they just are amazing.
Yeah. But the other things too, you keep in mind, if you didn't, the flexibility that we have when we think about all of our field trips, our athletics, all of that. So the savings that you have, there's so many other things to consider that we're able to do that we're not having to pay. The bus contracts for other companies, for other districts, and the percentage that they go up every year. That's in order to be able to continue to keep our fleet, which is a benefit to our families, our students. That in itself, it's not just coming to school every day. There's so much more that goes into it when it comes to the athletics, the field trips, and all of those other pieces.
I know we have done a cost analysis in the past. We've looked at a side by side, and there was no comparison. We were definitely ahead of the game as far as fiscally, but I do like the benefits of us having our own municipal, buses, and the municipality and the schools running their own buses. They do an amazing job, Lynn and Linda.
And in districts that would love to be able to have their own transportation, they can't do it. They can't afford the initial cost of that. But we already have that. But at the same time, that's why it's so important with CIP to be able to continue to stay on this schedule of replacing the buses every single year. The ones that are going, after hitting the 100,000 miles or the 10 years.
I honestly would look to try to get some special education vans. Corey and I always chat about this, to try to get some of those extremely high out-of-district transportation costs back, because to transport an out-of-district student often can cost $400 a day. So I was considering putting one in this capital, but it was kind of high, so I decided to hold off on it. But that can sometimes give you a cost savings on that, because if you have, say, 3 kids going to one location, then you can do it with your own van. And I think you could, I've done many a cost analysis on that. And even when you add in the benefits for the driver and stuff, it still can be a savings, because if you're spending $400 a day, think about the cost of a van and then $400 a day. So I would maybe consider something like that in the future to try to help you put some savings on that.
Yeah,
Just
thank
a
you.
thought.
I've been thanking everybody for all the work that they've done. This has been a big meeting. It represents so many hours outside of just this. This meeting's been hours, but this represents so many hours of work by so many different stakeholders, people that are here in the gallery. Thank you very much for staying here. Thank you very much for everything you've done to lead up to this. This budget, though, really represents, again, thank you to the budget subcommittee, but thank you. This really represents a lot of thought. The CIP that you put forth, it represents a lot of thought. It represents a lot of work too. Thank you very much, everybody. Anyone have any questions or comments? Do you have anything else?
Nope, I'm good.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move right along. Actually, it's going to be
I know we're
Ms.
going to
Sher-
move over, but I'm going to move over there because I brought a guest tonight.
Yay!
So Caroline. come on,
Thank you to Caroline Clark for hanging in there. Thank you. We appreciate you.
So to those who do not know her, this is Caroline Clark, and she's one of the financial analysts that works in my department. And she has done a shitload, a lot of work.
Bleepy.
A lot of work.
It's getting late.
It's getting late. It's getting late. It's
Oh,
okay.
God. Can we
It's
just
okay.
bleep that?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Mike's
good.
got it.
She's done a lot of work on this, so I wanted her to come with me, give her kudos on such a great job she's done on this. And I have been up very early this morning,
Yeah,
so I
it's a
apologize
long day for
that
everybody.
one.
It's okay.
So, in your packet, you have the guidelines, new guidelines for the new use of school facilities, all right? And it has a new fee structure, and we also are moving to a new online platform, Master Library, which Caroline, you can kudos because we have been waiting for this for a while. I was doing the rental of facilities when I first got here, and then I moved it over to Caroline, and we both know how much work it is. So we're very happy to have this new guidelines and to have the Master Library, which is going to be an online platform, which is going to make it much better, not only for us, but for those who are going to be renting the facilities. We feel the Master Library, it's a streamlining the process for both our staff and the renters. Everything's going to be online. It's going to have applications. You upload your certificate of insurance. The fee structure will be in there, electronic signatures, notifications, and more. Really excited on that. The guidelines that you have in your packet, we have revamped them to hopefully give renters more information on them. We also have changed the rate structure. Your rate structure has been the same since 2014. So we felt like it was a time for a review of your rate structure. And to determine the fair rates, and we went to a tiered structure. To determine fair rates for that, we did a lot of analysis on the surrounding towns. We reviewed the rental of facilities policies and guidelines and fees for several of the surrounding towns. Some of the examples that we looked at were Norwood, Attleboro, Walpole, Mansfield, King Philip. And so now what we're presenting tonight is a three-tiered structure. Tier 1 would be school and town department related. The school or town department is defined as a department, committee, or commission subject to appropriation by town meeting, or exist as a requirement of state statute and nonprofit parent groups. So examples of Tier 1 would be like the PTO, Foxborough Boosters, the similar clubs, the Music Association, various clubs. Those are some of the examples there. Tier 2 would move to the nonprofit Foxborough community groups, organizations, and activities. And in Tier 2, the majority of the participants must be residents of the town of Foxborough. Example of this would be Foxborough Little League, youth football, lacrosse, youth soccer, basketball association, or other similar groups deemed appropriate by the superintendent. And Tier 3, we have all other groups and organizations and activities. Examples would be individual, private, and commercial groups, religious organizations, nonprofits, and registered public charities. For the Tier 1, we also have changed the custodial fees. Custodial fees for all of them, but the custodial fees, what we went with the custodial fees was, it has to be a minimum of 4 hours. That's by contract, by the union contract. We'll be using the top step each fiscal year. So those rates pretty much will be set because we'll be just looking at that union contract and grabbing that top step. Monday through Saturday is time and a half, which is also contractual by the union contract, and Sunday is double time contractual. But you will see, as you see in those rate structures, that, so for Tier 1, the custodial fees only apply during non-school hours. All right, so that's why we see the difference in the tiers. In Tier 2, the custodial fees only apply during non-school hours as well. But then when you get to Tier 3, the custodial hours do apply to during school and non-school hours. The turf field, we also have a section for the turf field. The Sam Burns Community Turf Field. The rental fee for that is the same as, we did not increase that. That's the same rate that we have right now. We kept that at, it's $250 an hour for that turf field. And that will be charged custodial hours only if they're using the bathrooms and the concession stands. So there won't be custodial charges if they're just using the field. It will only be if they're using the bathrooms and concession stand. There's also lighting fees for the turf field. Those were the same as before as well. We didn't really change much with the turf field. So the full power, which is typically for the games and tournaments, would be at $60 an hour. The half power is $30 an hour, which is usually during practices. And then the final thing we recommend to the policy subcommittee is we advise that at a future policy subcommittee that you add these guidelines as a cross-reference to your policy, KF, community use of school facilities, because in those policies, in that policy, it does reference the rate. So we recommend that you reference this. I don't know if you can even put a link, because we are going to be putting this policy, and master library will be on the website with a link, so to make it easy for people to get to.
Perfect. What kind of timeline do you want on that policy? Should we have the policy subcommittee schedule?
Well, I don't think, it doesn't need a new policy for this. It's just, I think it should be referenced, because if you look at your policy, it says something about the school committee approves, it's the rate structure.
Okay.
So there's a rate structure already in there. I've read your policy, and I think your policy is probably sufficient. It's just referencing the new guidelines that we have and the new fee structure that's here.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah, thank you. Policy subcommittee.
Like many of the policies we've discussed here, they reference whatever guidebook that goes along with it. So as she said, your policy is fine as is.
Sure.
But referencing that would be helpful.
Good enough.
Right. Do you have anything else you want to input, or are you good?
No, I think we kind of summarized it. I mean, unless people have questions or anything.
No, I think this is great. Does this represent, do the changes you make represent any kind of significant revenue stream, what you've done?
We don't know yet, but it definitely, the way the old system was, it was a little confusing, didn't you feel? When you were trying to set the bill for the people and tell them the estimate, it was a little bit more work than, it's kind of a little bit more streamlined and easier with this. Like it must be multiple hours, and then you didn't know how many hours the people were going to be, and then it's a little confusing in
it was
figuring
different
out.
pricing for like different days, and then it was also different pricing. Yeah, the first 2 hours were X amount of dollars, and then every hour after that was that. So it was left a lot of room for like interpretation and a lot of room for errors, I felt. This is definitely going to be a lot more streamlined, because you're going to pay by the hour, and the hour will be the same no matter when it is, which is kind of what I found mostly when I was doing the analysis between the schools. And I found most of them were doing the tiers too.
Great.
So I think
that
it will.
makes sense.
So hopefully it will. I mean, I don't think it's ever going to be like a huge moneymaker, but. But it could work.
I mean,
we did increase our rates for the people, like for the private companies. So that, I think, will help a lot.
Okay. Awesome.
The intent wasn't to have like a huge moneymaker, but to have it at reasonable rates for people who, rent any of the facilities. So that's how we felt. And then also, the master library is going to be the way we're doing it now on an Excel spreadsheet that keeps having to be updated and sent to everybody, it shared, and it's so prone, we just felt like it was more prone to error, so that's why we really were looking to get into that online platform for this, and it's, so we're really excited about that. And again, a lot of work with this. We, with us working on this, but not only that, she is setting up all of the master library, and it is a lot of work. So that's why I wanted to bring her here and give her kudos for it, because it is a lot of work that she has done. It is a major project that we have done. It has taken months.
Thank you.
You're being she's going to be very happy to put this project.
It's been a long time.
Well, good. You should be proud. I love the format. Anytime you can streamline anything, and I do appreciate the fact that you put us in line with the other similar communities and what they're doing. Thank you.
One thing that might help a little bit with the turf that we didn't mention is we left a little clause in there, so if it's a professional organization, the pricing is subject to increase.
Oh, good.
Because we've had clinics like for my quarterback, May, last year.
Yeah.
And for someone like that that's charging $250 an hour, and they're charging each kid probably $300 or $400.
Yeah.
That's on the cheap end.
Yeah. So I happened to see that in one of the other schools, and I don't remember off the top of my head which one it was, and I'm like, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
I kind of like having that flexibility.
Yeah. No, it's smart. Again, you're making sure that we're in line with the other towns and making sure that we're doing what we should be doing.
I went to that one, and they had like 500 kids squeezed onto the turf right there. And it was like $300 was like the floor. And they had packages where it was like $800. And I'm like multiplying that out over 500 kids. I'm like, how much is the town getting for this? Because they're not paying anybody. There were like 4 salaried employees there. So it wasn't even like,
Okay. All right. Well, great. Thank you. That'll be awesome. We'll have you do a cost analysis. Come back next year. Tell us how it went.
I do want to echo what Karen said about Caroline and the amount of time that went into this, because I've sat down with both of them, and the tiered system, I think it articulates it much more clearly to the end user, and it takes a lot of the questions out of it, and then the guidebook that comes along with it. It really articulates what the expectations are. And then it also, at the same time, when we think about the custodial fee structure and being able to account for that. And in the future, as an example on CAP, we're talking about the turf field. And to your comment, Pat, just now, the use of it, we need to be able to generate the revenue in order to replace that. We're not going to be able to do that alone, and it is for all of those that use it and access it, which is a great opportunity, but at the same time, it does provide wear and tear on the field when you are renting it out.
Yeah, absolutely. So I see that there is an action required here.
We do need school committee, because it needs, the new fee rate structure needs to be approved by school committee.
Okay.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the Foxborough Public School use of school facility guidelines as presented here today.
Second.
Any further questions, comments, or discussion? All right. All in favor? 500. Thank you so much. We have so much gratitude to both of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. In 5 years, this is my first bleep, too. So. All right. We're going to move on. We have to make one correction on the next agenda item. The agenda item is 2025 to 2026 school calendar. It should read the 2026 to 2027 school calendar. So just make that correction. No, on the agenda.
Oh.
On the agenda. It's just a housekeeping. Dr. Burdos, you want to...
Sure. So this is the time of year when we look forward to setting the calendar. Believe it or not, parents are actually, they ask when this is going to be for planning for future. So this is, as you just stated, the 26-27 school year. It is also the school year where Labor Day falls late. And so I think it was about 6 years ago that Labor Day fell late. Joe, is that correct?
Yes, and I remember that we would, if it weren't for COVID, we would have gone back before Labor Day, but we started for students on September 14th in 2020.
Because we had 10 days of professional development to get ready for. Yes, thank you. I knew you would remember.
2021 we went back before Labor Day,
yes.
August 31st, when we turned to a normal year.
Thank you. So when we do have Labor Day that falls late, it's that question of, because we do historically start with students. Staff, faculty and staff start before, but after. So in order to try to simplify, the recommendation here is twofold here. One, it's information only to be able to take this, digest it, talk with anybody that makes sense, and then come back at the next meeting. But the recommendation from our Foxborough Education Association, as well as the administrators, is to start with students before Labor Day because it falls late. Because if you are able to start with students and get a couple days in, there's a number of benefits. One, the days in June, there's more learning time that are more conducive than being at the very tail end of June, particularly if you have weather delays and snow days. So by starting with students before Labor Day, it then allows for the last day of school without any cancellation days to be June 17th, as opposed to you've got the holiday and then 5 days later if you were to have those days. The other piece of that is that when we have experienced that starting before, you're able to kind of ease in with students and families and to be able to have a number of days in. You still have the 4-day weekend for families over the Labor Day weekend because you would only have 3 days with students there. And then easing into that, you're ready to go, particularly after Labor Day. The other change here is we have historically had 5 professional development days, 3 before the school year starts, 1 in October that is right against the Indigenous Peoples holiday, and then we have 1 in March, and that was changed just a few short years ago because we had that day in January. We moved it to March for a number of different reasons, and it has proved to be really a successful time of year to have that. At the same time, having 3 days in August, that is least disruptive to families by having those days before the school year. But at the same time, we would like to have that more spread out during the school year. When we think about professional development, it's for learning and growth of our educators and to best meet the needs of the classroom and the students. If we were to have 2 of those days in August, then the recommendation here is to go back to having a day in January, but to try to least impact families. And so you see that professional development day would fall directly after the long holiday break. So it extends it 1 more day for families, and then faculty and staff would be there on that Monday, students returning on the Tuesday. So those are 2 of the changes that are on this recommended calendar. Again, from FEA as well as administration, to start before Labor Day, but to take 1 of those professional development days and move it to January. The other thing that I would like to mention, which is not noted on this calendar, but has been a discussion for you to consider. And when we think about kindergarten screening and being prepared for our kindergartners that come in. So currently, kindergarten screening takes place in the month of May. It's 3 to 4 days. Teachers are out of their classrooms. We have substitute teachers that come in if we're able to get subs, or we have our wonderful educational assistants that are in kindergarten classrooms too. But it is not your classroom teacher for those 3 or 4 days, depending on the school, during kindergarten screening. Kindergarten screening is really important to be able for us to be prepared for our students that will be coming to us in the fall, and balancing those classrooms and doing that work. We don't get everyone, because if we have anyone that moves in, say, August, and being able to have the screening that takes place. We have, when school starts in September, as you're aware, kindergarten students do not start on the first day of school with the rest of the district. They come in, a short orientation, a quick bus ride, and then they go home. So The recommendation or proposal for consideration would be to move kindergarten screening to where it would take place at the end of the school year in June. That would mean that kindergarten would end earlier than the rest of the district. So as an example, if you look at this calendar where school would end on the half day on Thursday, the 17th, what is up for a suggestion for your consideration is to have kindergarten's last day would end on Friday, June 11th, and then kindergarten screening would take place on that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of that following week. What that would allow for is not the disruption in May, where you have a loss of instructional time by not having your teacher in the classroom during those 3 or 4 days. It also would then allow for kindergarten to start on the first day of school for a full day with everyone else. So this evening, wanted to present that calendar with starting before Labor Day, moving one of the professional development days to January, and then the consideration of kindergarten screening to be moved, which would then have students, kindergarten students only, ending earlier in June.
Okay.
And then at the next meeting, we'd be bringing this back for a vote based on the feedback that we have from you.
Great. I have a question in the gallery.
Not a question, a comment.
Oh, a comment, yeah, please.
Two things I wanted to mention tonight about the calendar. First, I've seen a lot of other districts end early because of kindergarten screening, which makes sense. But then some districts, what they'll do in May is like Norwood, they would take 2 days out of the school year in May for no school for kindergarten students and do kindergarten screening then. I don't know if that's effective or not. That kindergarten students don't have to make up the days. But then the second thing I wanted to mention about professional development days, I know if we're only having 2 to start the year, some districts do this like Walpole. Staff go back Monday and Tuesday, teachers I mean, and then students Wednesday, Thursday, then a 4-day weekend. Just things to consider.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. And when I was mentioning that kindergarten students don't have to make up the days if they get out, or if they don't come to school for 2 days because of incoming kindergarten screening.
Perfect. Thank you.
The last thing that I'll just mention when we're thinking about the May time period it's not just the teachers that are impacted during the screening, it's also our related service providers that are involved in that when we think about like our OTs and our SLPs and some of our L teachers on a limited basis too. So there's other people that are involved in those screenings.
Thank you. I think this is great. So we will come back for a vote in 2 weeks. So if anyone has questions or concerns, you know how to reach us and you know how to reach you. So thank you very much. This is very well thought out. Thank you. And thanks for your explanation as well. Okay, we are at the point where we have a few donations here. Ms. Sheridan, if you want to just describe.
Tonight we have 3 donations. The first one is $20,000 from Meditech to the school district. Does not appear to have any restrictions on it, so that's $20,000 to the school district from Meditech.
Can I jump in?
Is there restrictions?
Yes. So the $20,000 from Meditech, we've been receiving this donation for a number of years. In years past, it has been $15,000. In recent years, they've increased it to $20,000. That funding is specifically to support engineering and STEM programming. In recent years, we've actually used it to kickstart our robotics program up at the high school. So, and we've also used it to offset some Project Lead the Way expenses. So it's specifically for that purpose. It's for STEM related programming.
Thank you. let me know.
Yes.
Because it doesn't say this on the form.
Sorry, but we meet with them and we talk with them about it. I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
So I apologize. It does have restrictions. You have to use it for engineering
Surprise.
program and practically the way. The second one is from Chick-fil-A. There was a spirit night. The Ahern Middle School drama is $47.30. And then the final one is Partners in Patriotism Fund. That is $2,087.92. And that to be used for this Foxborough girls soccer cold gear cart. So that's what that final donation. So those are the 3 donations for
Great.
acceptance tonight.
Thank you very much. I will entertain 3 motions.
I make a motion to accept with gratitude a donation from Meditech for $20,000 for use for engineering and STEM programs.
Second.
Any further questions, comments, or discussion? All in favor? 500. Thank you very much.
I make a motion to accept with gratitude a donation of $47.30 from Chick-fil-A for the Ahern Drama Club.
Second.
Any further questions, comments, discussion? All in favor? 500. Thank you very much.
And the last one, I make a motion to accept a donation of $2,087.92 from Partners in Patriotism for Foxborough girls soccer cold gear cart.
Great.
Second.
Any further questions, comments, or discussion? All in favor? And that's 500 as well. Thank you very, very much to everyone who donated. Thank you for everyone who stayed and hung out with us. We're going to do community update. We'll start with Allison, see if you have anything.
I don't have anything.
Okay. Michelle.
Just a quick update with CPAC. This month we will be doing our basic rights seminars, so look for information on that. They're done online now. We do them through the Federation, and we will be doing another resource fair that will be happening in March, and we are also looking at another social gathering with the Mansfield CPAC in March, we think at a bowling alley, so
Great.
for kids and parents.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Nate.
Sure. From the rec board, February and April vacation programs will be released soon, so stay tuned.
Awesome.
Those winter sports teams, they've been doing fantastic. Off to a great start for the season. Power rankings have just come out recently, so they're all doing pretty well. So
Awesome.
Go Warriors.
Go Warriors.
I think I've probably talked enough tonight.
Thank you.
I echo that.
Same. Ms. Sheridan? Yep, okay. I don't have any updates myself, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. We appreciate you all.